Scott Letendre at second. Eddie Newsom is the third base umpire. 2 balls, 1 strike on Brendan Lawson. True freshman from Toronto has had a terrific first college campaign, checking in with his .324 batting average. Lawson, and he fouled that one off of himself before it made its way out to Flores. 2-2. You see what Lawson's done against right-handed pitching.
You can see it. The OPS part of that significantly different. You look at the RBIs as well. And certainly that big, when you look at that 9 home runs on the right-handed versus right-handed. And on the flip side of this now for Jason Flores, his is about ground balls. As he comes back and gets a...
1 out for Luke Heyman, the starting catcher. And he swings at the first pitch, lifts a high pop-up into shallow left field. The sunshine proving to be a problem early this afternoon, but Gasparino calls everybody off, and that's the second out of the game.
Well, that ball stayed up there a long time. All 3 defenders were converging on it. Flores going back, Williams coming in, but Gasparino has the best angle with the sun and comes in and makes the grab.
So a strikeout and a fly ball to center field after the hit by pitch to open the game. Ty Evans will try and bounce back. Had a tough middle game of this series, went hitless and struck out 3 times. Florida only scored in the second inning yesterday, blanked by Texas pitching the final 7 frames. 5-2 win for Texas to snap a 4-game SEC skid.
I could tell it looked like that Bozer was in a delay steal on that pitch with 2 outs, which is, it comes often enough with 2 outs to delay steals do. And he's 16 of 18 of stolen bases, and with 2 outs, you've got your 4-hole hitter Ty Evans at the plate. Oftentimes as a runner, as a coach, you'll try to pick a moment. He's going to throw a breaker to try to get out and steal to help your abilities to get to second base.
See the numbers in the series for Evans. Got both of those doubles on Friday night in the 8-2 series opening victory for Florida. Texas now moves 3 infielders to the left of second. And a 2-strike pitch to Evans is waved at and tapped foul. Just got a piece of that fastball from Flores. He can get it up there. 93 to 97 per the scouting report. Also uses a cut fastball, curveball, and what they call a knuckling splitter. Any idea how to grip that?
I do know how to. I don't know that we've got enough time to go all the way through it, but there's a lot of different ways. It's the new wave of change-ups. It started in the big leagues over the last couple of years, and you're starting to see it filter down into the collegiate levels as well.
Another 2-strike pitch, and Evans takes it the other way. Base hit right. Texas' third hit of the weekend. Well, with 3 infielders to the left of second, from Flores to jump in front. Sear's been on twice this weekend. A junior from Windermere, Florida, transfer from Miami, and falls behind 0-2.
Got a good enough runner at third base with Bozer. If you're Florida, if you try to put on a possible double steal, Rylan Galvan immediately stepping out in front of home plate, putting on the Texas defense how they're going to decide to defend a possible double steal.
He does take off. Galvan will throw it down to second. Bozer breaking for the plate, and he's out. The return pass was perfect. And Jason Mendoza was quiet yesterday out of the leadoff spot. Did walk, but also struck out 3 times. Picked up a single in the series opener on Friday. Again, a designated hitter for Texas. Numbers that much better for Mendoza, who hit .315 as a freshman at Arizona State last year. Grew up a diehard Longhorn fan from Bedford, Texas, near Dallas. And he's worked his way into a 3-ball, no-strike count. So we just told you Aiden King doesn't throw many non-strikes, but hasn't poured one in yet.
Could be a little amped up. I mean, you start to look around and how big today is. Stadium's almost full. It's a big moment for Florida at this point, trying to keep their momentum going on what they've done and what they've been able to do over the last month and a half in the SECs. You get a good look at the stadium. You could come in a little amped up.
Ethan Mendoza's on base again. Been on base all 3 games of the series. And a leadoff walk for Texas in the home half of the first. Florida could not do anything with their leadoff base runner in the top half of the inning. And well, that's what you wanted, a leadoff guy, right? Mendoza on base 40 times in 47 games.
Yeah, he's been an on-base machine for the Longhorns all year. He started out in the 9-hole, and then they elevated him as the season started going on to the leadoff position.
Rylan Galvan on a terrific backhand from Heyman, the catcher.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you what, that was a great play. He just made that ball I thought was going to ricochet for sure off of his glove and allow Mendoza to get to second base. Heyman made a great play.
Another breaking ball that misses off the outside.
Just going to get a visit from head coach Kevin O'Sullivan. Try to calm him down, slow him down. Get his rhythm under control. What they tried, the first hitter with Mendoza, it was all fastballs. And he wasn't able to execute a fastball where they wanted to, with the exception of one. And so what they tried to do then, they tried to go to a breaker, give him something, maybe gain the confidence of him. What it also does, Chris, is if a guy's a little amped up with his fastball, oftentimes it's pull side or elevated, that breaker slows you down because you stay back in your delivery just a little bit more. But he still wasn't able to execute the 2 breakers. We'll see if he chooses to go back to the fastball in a 2-0 count.
Kevin O'Sullivan, 18th season at Florida. More than 750 wins. 2017 National Championship. Perhaps more impressive than all of that, there's been 37 Major League Baseball debuts for Gators that have played under O'Sullivan. That's the most in all of college baseball. Florida does a great job of getting guys to the next level. There's a fastball, 95 miles per hour, in there for a strike from Aiden King. You think about the quick risers that have come from Florida each of the last 2 years, with Wyatt Langford 2 years ago. Jack Caglione is knocking on the door in the Royals system. He's tearing up Double-A in his first full professional campaign.
A young man's a kid coach. I mean, I love to go back and dig into the history of coaches and where he got his start.
Another walk. Back-to-back 5-pitch base on balls issued by Aiden King, who typically doesn't walk many hitters.
We were talking about in the opening, he's an elite strike thrower for a young pitcher. You see so far 2 walks. Another look at Coach O'Sullivan sitting in the back of the dugout, discussing with one of his assistants. And really, it's emotions more than mechanics or anything else. Heart rate gets going. You miss a couple pitches and you're not used to it because you are an elite strike thrower. He's got to catch his breath and get back in the zone.
Jalen Flores pulls back the bunt attempt.
Yeah, I think that was a take. Bunt attempt, just trying to create a little bit more distraction with the barrel of the bat out over the plate, trying to distract King.
First hitter Aiden King's gotten in front of here. 0-2. It was not Jalen Flores who made that great toss to home plate, by the way. It was Adrian Rodriguez, the freshman who was covering the bag. That wound up throwing out Bobby Bozer, trying to score the game's first run in the top half of the inning. Swinging a slow bouncer. Larson's only play to first. And that kind of works like a sacrifice as Mendoza and Galvan scoot up. And Aiden King records his first out.
With runners on first and second, with the exception of bunting the ball, this is, if you're going to hit a ball in the infield, this is what you want if you're on the offensive side of this for Texas, and that's allowing both the runners on base to move up 90 feet. Now you've created some opportunities with a runner at third base 90 feet away with less than 2, or a fly ball. You got your infield back in the middle, or a ground ball in the middle also can lead to a run. And so you're right, a swinging bunt by Flores have moved the runners up.
Well, on senior day, Kimball Schuessler starting his 100th game in a Texas uniform will try and put the top-ranked team in the country in the run column first. He's got 3 hits. Also features a changeup and a split finger fastball, does Aiden King.
What it looks like in the SEC for these 2 freshmen, but you're also getting a glimpse of what could look like the future as a big part of the SEC as well with these 2 young freshman arms.
Blake Sear was in their batter's box when Texas was able to cut down Bobby Bozer coming towards the plate for the final out of the first inning. So Sear will get another look at Flores. Had fallen behind with a couple strikes, and that is when Florida put the runners in motion. And you kind of foresaw that coming.
Yeah, well, with 2 strikes, if you're going to do it, that's when you're probably going to do it. And at that point, you want to make them have the defensive team to make 2 throws, and they were able to. The right-handed hitter dictated that Rodriguez was going to be the one covering second. And then it's 2 long throws, one from Galvan, and then once second baseman recognizes that he sees the runner at third, break for home. Now he's got to make a throw to the plate. And Rodriguez was able to return the throw, and Galvan apply a tag.
Sear has worked a full count to open the second. Brody Dene, Hayden Yost to follow for Florida. Full count pitch upstairs. And for a second straight inning to open the game, Florida has the leadoff base runner. First-year head coach Jim Schlossnagel, former Texas A&M, TCU, UNLV head coach, has taken his teams to Omaha 7 times, and that's going to be the expectation for this year's team with the resume they put together in the regular season.
Well, they've certainly put themselves in those conversations by the way they've played so far this year overall, not just alone in the SEC. As you get a look at the 6 national championships, 38 trips to Omaha by this program. Omaha is an expectation.
Year 1 has always been a quick start for Jim Schlossnagel. UNLV took them from 10 games under to 500. Won Conference USA back when TCU was a CUSA member. And of course at Texas A&M took over a program that had won just 29 games the year prior, wins 44 in his first season there and takes them to the College World Series. And for this Texas squad, they were 36-24 last season. They lost to Jim Schlossnagle in the Texas A&M Regional. 1 ball, 1 strike. Brody Dene, the hitter, and takes ball 2.
Jason Flores, when he's throwing the ball in the strike zone, he can make the baseball go both ways. His two-seamer can go from left to right, create some ground balls. A cutter moving from right to left. But when he's good, it's a lot of ground balls. And some swing miss in there with his breaking ball and his changeup. For Jason Flores, it's about command of the strike zone and attacking the strike zone.
Full count here to Brody Dene. Hayden Yost, the reigning SEC Player of the Week, on deck. Florida had 2 men on base, could not score in the first inning.
Got to think that they're going to start Sear up at first base, and it's full count, nobody out.
And it's ball 4. So back-to-back free passes issued by the right-hander Flores. Also hit a batter in the first inning.
He's going to get a visit from Max Weiner, the pitching coach of Texas, after the back-to-back walks and 3 free bases so far in the first inning, or now first 2 innings. But this is to try to get him to, again, catch your breath a little bit, talk about, you know, what you want to do defensively. Last time in game 2 yesterday, I think we had a similar scenario with Yost up, and they went to a sacrifice bunt. They weren't able to execute the bunt. So they're going to go out and talk about the defense they want to play, handling of the baseball, but also allow him to catch his breath and gain a little bit of confidence moving into the next hitter with Yost coming up.
Flores has not pitched more than an inning since mid-April, when he worked 3 2/3 against Auburn. An inning last weekend at Arkansas, an inning the weekend prior here against A&M. Hayden Yost been driving in a lot of runners of late, although in a potential sacrifice situation here, as Flores misses with ball 1.
And what Texas is doing defensively, you're going to see Kimball Schuessler come up and get as tight as he can get to the left-handed bunter Yost, who's going to try to bunt this ball down the third baseline. But if he does bunt it back to the pitcher, Schuessler gets into position where he can field it. He'll start to creep in.
He gets the bunt down. It's a good one. Borba charges and throws him out at first base. So a successful sacrifice put down by Hayden Yost. So the leadoff walk comes around to score this time. Justin Nato, who was a late scratch in the starting lineup yesterday, was replaced by Landon Stripling. Back in the starting lineup for the series finale, went 2 for 4, knocked in 3 runs on Friday night. Junior from St. John's, Florida, a transfer from Jacksonville, where he spent the last 2 years in the Atlantic Sun.
Back to that bunt by Yost. A lot of teams don't bunt early in games. They won't sack bunt. They want to go ahead, and the analytics tell them, let's go ahead and let's swing, let's do this. But for a coach, you got to know your personnel. You got to know who can bunt, number one, which was a perfectly executed bunt, and who's coming up behind him. And early in the game, you know, it to me was never different than later in the game. And so, see Coach O'Sullivan picturing him. He knows his team. He knows what his team's offense is capable of doing. Certainly so far it paid off, moving the runners with a sack bunt.
Home crowd urging on the freshman Jason Flores to try and limit the damage here in the second. And he does. Justin Nato goes down swinging. And the Gators.
You start looking on there at the number of wins, 750 and 969 wins between the two of these guys. They are two of the best in college baseball. Both of them incredibly detailed workers, hard workers, and forward thinkers.
Called strike into Casey Borba, the sophomore third baseman leading off the home half of the second. Will Gasparino, Jonah Williams to follow against Aiden King, who issued walks to the first two batters he faced in the first inning, but came on back to retire the final three and keep Texas out of the run column. He did go around, according to Travis Eggert, the first base umpire. Borba started 20 games as a true freshman last year, been the everyday third baseman for Texas this season. At least a good chunk of it. This is his 38th start. 2-2 as he faces Aiden King in the bottom of the second. Final regular season home game for Texas. They'll close the SEC slate with 3 at Oklahoma starting on Thursday night. Florida will go back home and welcome the Crimson Tide from Alabama for 3. And then everybody heads to Hoover for the SEC tournament.
Yeah, Alabama winning that that continuation game from last night from Georgia. Get a good look at that 95-mile-an-hour fastball and a 3-2 count to Borba. Get
called strike. Starting center fielder for Texas in search of his first base hit of the series. 0 for 7 through the first 2 games. Homered in the series finale at Arkansas last Saturday afternoon. 1-2.
It's a legitimate question if you're watching these games. You're thinking you're watching these freshmen that are up to 94 to 98 miles an hour between both these young arms. You're going, now wait a minute, how are these guys not going in the first round or getting drafted or playing professional baseball? You see him elevate a fastball at 93 to get Gasparino to chase it for a second strikeout. But part of that is the way college baseball has changed. And, you know, when you start talking about NIL and you start talking about, you know, guys going to Division I baseball, and by the time they're juniors in really being, you know, secure first rounders and being able to develop. And that's what college baseball has become, is a tremendous development opportunity for young players.
Speaking of young players, Jonah Williams had his biggest moment in his young Texas career yesterday with the go-ahead game-winning 3-run double. He was then lifted for a pinch runner after the double, dealing with some lower half discomfort, but back in the starting 9 today.
Williams 4 out of 4 for sure, but I mean, the way the strength of the SEC is, when it all shakes out after next week, depending on how Florida ends, I think they do move into a 2 seed.
This is Bobby Bozer, who was hit by a pitch to open the game. Jason Flores facing the top third of the Gator lineup for a second time.
I think the way they started in the SEC 1-11 and where they are today, number one, is a tremendous story about the University of Florida's team.
It was their worst start to an SEC season in program history. But since the 1992 expansion, no SEC team has reached the postseason starting 2-10 or worse against conference play. But this Florida team is going to buck that trend. Bobby Bozer hit for a second time. Got him on the top of the crown.
Looked like a cutter that got away from Flores. It got him on the helmet. Thank goodness for these helmets and the protection and how good these helmets are made.
Now, back when you played, you just got in the batter's box with the ball cap, right?
That's not correct. That is definitely not correct. And you're trying to put some age on me. But I love where you're going. There was a day and time when guys got in there with just a hat, but and no, we had more than the one ear flap too, but our helmets probably weren't as good as what these guys are wearing today. And you see the little mouth, or the mouth guard right there too, or the cheek guard as you get a look at it. I would wear one of those. I would. I mean, that's your onside, you know, view towards the pitcher to try to protect yourself.
Into center field off the bat of Brendan Lawson as Gasparino squeezes the first out of the third.
You know, the way the wind's blowing right now, in from left center, makes it tough to drive the ball out towards left center. You can see those flags flying straight, and that's trying to indicate just how strong the winds can be out here. Now there's a window open to right field. I think the ball carries from the scoreboard in right center towards the right field corner.
Florida, a tremendous power hitting team. They got 80 home runs as a club this year, but they have not gone deep in this series. Texas hit a pair of home runs yesterday. They're the only big flies so far through the first two games between the Gators and Longhorns. Luke Heyman's got some big time power. Launched 3 home runs against South Carolina last weekend, 41 for his college career. Home plate umpire Jeff Head telling Flores he needs to make eye contact with Heyman before he comes set. Heyman top 5 in slugging percentage and homers since the start of the SEC season.
That's pretty impressive. You get into 10 home runs, tied for second in the SEC. That slugging percentage at .687 is some kind of impressive.
Heyman lines it to left field. Bozer was on the move. He'll dig for third, and the throw from Williams is late. Luke Heyman picks up a base hit, and the Gators have him at the corners with 1 out for Ty Evans, the cleanup hitter, in the top of the third. Arlington appeared in the opener of the series on Friday, inning in 2/3, struck out 5 hitters through 26 pitches. He's 6-0 this year. He's got 5 saves and has struck out 47 hitters in his 41 2/3 innings.
He has been their go-to guy in the bullpen, a multi-purpose guy. You've seen him early in the game like today. You've seen him close out games, middle of the games. I mean, he has been dynamite for the Longhorns out of the bullpen as he comes in and throws a first pitch slider, and you'll see some of that. It's a two-seam fastball in the 90s, a slider and a changeup. And when he's right, it's a lot of ground balls, and certainly something that the Longhorn defense would look for right now to try to get a double play to get out of this inning.
That one bounces up there to Ty Evans. Evans singled his first time after going hitless yesterday. With the overshift on, it might not be the easiest to turn to, depending on where the ball's hit.
Well, they work on that enough that that ball's hit the Borba glove side. You'll see Rodriguez go over to second base and turn it. You'll see a pick at third. A lot of times they'll know that pick at third, you're trying to make sure that they're not trying to safety squeeze, hold that run in there a little bit longer at third base, and or catching by surprise.
Evans takes on the inside, called strike.
We've already seen Florida go to a first and third double steal. More times than not, you do it with 2 outs as opposed to 1 out. But it's always in your catalog of opportunities.
This is Max Grubb's 3rd season at Texas. 18 appearances, 12 starts. Didn't pitch a ton out of the bullpen last year. Was 6-4 with a 3.67 earned run average and landed on the All Big 12 honorable mention list. A 2-2 on the way to Evans, and he strikes him out swinging.
With 2 outs.
Misses just off the inside to Blake Sear, who scored the only run of the game after walking in the 2nd. Bouncing ball towards the middle. Rodriguez into a slide, and it won't be in time to get Blake Sear. RBI infield base hit makes it 2-0 Florida in the 3rd.
This is a strategically placed ball back up the middle, not hit incredibly hard to the baseball. That's part of with the shift as this ball's driven up into the air and shallow left.
High pop up. And Williams gets there for the 3rd out. Jalen Flores could not find that baseball, but Jonah Williams does. Turnaround really began after the men's basketball team won the national championship. The Florida fans believe that some of that mojo got passed along.
Some of that special mojo that goes with national championships and excitement.
Tommy Farmer drills it to right center field. Yost is on the move, and it's Ashton Wilson, the right fielder, making the catch on the warning track.
Our first look at that wind when it blows across to right field.
For the order, Ethan Mendoza squares off against Aiden King for a 2nd time. And since Aiden King walked Mendoza and Galvan to open the home half of the 1st, he's retired 7 straight Longhorn batters. Texas still looking for its first hit, as Mendoza takes the fastball for strike 1.
Well, he could throw a bunch of them just like that, and he has in this game after he walked the 2, and that's it. He is throwing absolute zeros right down at their knees, and that is hard for the hitters to get the barrel to and make good contact with.
Bozer charges the slow bouncer off the bat of Mendoza. 2 outs.
You get a look at what I was just talking about. It's just hard to get to the middle of the baseball. Mendoza swings over the top of it. Bozer comes in and makes a nice, easy, comfortable play on the run.
So that's 8 straight set down by Aiden King. Rylan Galvan waves and misses at the 94-mile-per-hour fastball. D1 Baseball's top catcher in the country, Buster Posey Award candidate Rylan Galvan.
He's a talent behind the plate without any doubt as a defensive catcher and a thrower, but he has made himself a tremendous talent at the plate with his power this year. Again, we saw it on display yesterday. That storm came through and the wind laid down, and he absolutely blasted that ball to center field over the batter's eye.
Fastball misses off the outside. A 416-foot shot to straightaway center field. It was a towering fly ball, cleared the batter's eye, as you mentioned. Just off the inside, full count.
The Florida dugout thought that pitch was caught enough at the plate to call it strike 3. Home plate umpire Jeff Head Step back out of the box a little bit to tell him where he thought that ball ended up in.
And another close miss. So Rylan Galvan has worked a pair of walks. And Texas has its first base runner since Galvan's first base on balls. Gives Jalen Flores an opportunity to hit here in the home half of the third.
Got a quick glimpse of Aiden King asking his catcher, Heyman, if he thought that ball was down or away. Just trying to figure out where he thinks the location is.
Flores tied up.
Tell you what, that's a boring fastball right there. That's a four-seamer just running in
Just
on
call
Flores.
it boring?
Yeah, boring in on his hand. Not boring as in ho-hum, boring as in driving.
Short pop-up, gloved by Nato for the third out. So a 2-out walk to Rylan Galvan, but that's all for Texas. Aiden King has shutout number 1 through 3 innings.
If you're going to get back there and catch, you got to be incredibly tough, because it isn't if you're going to get hit in some awkward spots. It's when. You can see Galvan shaking it off. It's not the first time, it won't be the last.
Yost dropped down a sac bunt, his only time back in the second. As Max Grubbs continues on here for Texas. Both runs charged to Jason Flores, the starter. He strikes out Hayden Yost on 3 pitches for his second strikeout of the game.
Grubbs goes to that back foot and rotating like crazy, and then just disappears.
Ashton Wilson knocked down by Schussler, and he recovers for the out. Kimball Schussler on senior day makes a nice defense.
With it that long, and he does, knocks it down and gets the out.
2 gone as Justin Nato takes just off the outside. Nato was one of 2 hitters that Jason Flores, the starter, struck out when he was in there.
They're in as part of Division I baseball too, and accomplished pitchers. 2-0 count, nobody on. Most people think you're going to sit in there and throw a little 2-seamer or 4-seamer in there to get a strike and or create some contact. And then here comes an 85-mile-an-hour slider.
Right back to in this game as King gets the outside corner. Heyman sets up in the opposite batter's box.
He did, making sure he got that slider out there off the plate as a waste pitch.
Went back outside again, 2-2. Aiden King delivers, and it's strike 3 called on the outside edge. Second time he's struck out Kimball Schussler looking, and it's his 4th. Already some buzz about where these guys might be picked in the 2027 MLB draft. Adrian Rodriguez fouls it away.
Well, with all due respect, I'm going to enjoy watching them while they're college players and what they're doing for college baseball, and certainly in this conference.
No question. And as they grow older, they will mean more and more to their respective clubs. Already key pieces as is. As Rodriguez waves and misses through the fastball. That was a very uncomfortable looking swing. Good crowd on hand for the final regular season home game here in Austin. Certainly will be some postseason baseball here. As Rodriguez sends it to the gap in right center field. First hit for Texas. And the freshman will stop at first base with a 1-out single. So with 2 strikes, Adrian Rodriguez got something elevated and sent it to right center field for the first long. Hitting streak grows to 11 for Rodriguez. And Casey Borba struck out looking his first time. Will bat again. Borba homered on Tuesday to open the homestand against the Lamar Cardinals. The final midweek game for Texas. Only 4 losses at home this season. 2 of them were in midweek games against UTSA and Texas State. One of them was Friday night against this Gator Ball club, and the other against LSU back in March. Lifted in the air to left center field. Yost drifted back, now a couple of steps in, and puts it away for the second out. And again, that's not really the area of the ballpark. You want to try to get one airborne this afternoon.
No, Chris, it's not. I mean, as that wind is blowing, if you're going to left center, you're going to have to hit a low line drive home run to probably get it out of here, unless you just hit the, you know, hit it further than you probably hit one before. But that wind is blowing pretty good in from left, and particularly if you get it up into the air, fly ball wise, I don't see it carrying much.
2 outs in the inning. Will Gasparino, the strikeout victim, his first time as they check in on Rodriguez. Leads the club with 11 stolen bases. Has only been caught stealing once all year. Today in the bottom of the 4th inning to the Tigers, 3-1. Meanwhile, Texas, their magic number for the outright SEC regular season title is 2.
Being able to use that slider effectively early in the counts. As you just saw with that get me over slider, and then that put away slider that he attacks a little bit harder and goes to the back foot of those left-handed hitters.
Brendan Lawson cuts and misses. Lawson has struck out and hit a fly ball to center field in 2 trips. Got him looking. Another punch out for Grubbs as he takes care of Lawson on 3 pitches. There are a couple of defensive changes for Texas. Jonah Williams moving to center field. Will Gasparino is out of this game. And Easton Winfield is the new left fielder. And you have to imagine that had something to do with the infield base hit he had in the last half inning.
Yeah, I mean, you never know what created that thought or why they took him out for sure. But with the addition, I mean, if you put field out into left field, Williams has spent most of his time in left field, but obviously he was a center fielder by trade.
It's 0-2 on Luke Heyman. Max Grubbs has come out of that home bullpen and just poured in strike after strike. Another 3-pitch strikeout to close the inning. Well, Max Grubbs is doing his job. He'd like
this thing's be fun all the way down to the finish line next weekend with the final series before everybody goes to Hoover. But so far, the story has been this young man on the mound. After walking the first two guys, King has settled in with that fastball, occasional slider and splitter, but it has been that fastball at the kneecaps. He has just blistered the kneecaps so far today.
Tommy Farmer hit the ball well his first time, sent Ashton Wilson to the warning track in right center. Had an 8th inning double yesterday. 2-2. After Farmer back to the top of the order, Ethan Mendoza on deck. Then Rylan Galvan, who's been on twice. Got him looking. Outside. Ethan Mendoza takes ball 1. Facing Aiden King for a 3rd time. He walked to open the game before a ground out his last time up in the 3rd.
Texas so far has been able to barrel up only about 3 swings. What I mean by that, where they really landed on the ball with some authority. And Aiden King so far has been able to do that right there, keep everything right at the kneecap area, get him to swing over the top. Slider, been able to get him out.
Carolina only had to guess right now, SEC national champion or the field. I think SEC would probably be favored in that discussion.
Yeah, I mean, odds on when you look at how many SEC teams have been number 1 and or in the top 10. I mean, it just has been so impressive what this league has done from a baseball perspective. We get a top 25. It speaks for itself right there.
Certainly other contenders elsewhere, and Clemson's had a nice run in the ACC. Florida State is number 2, although they were upset out in Berkeley at Cal last night. How's that for a conference game?
Yeah, you know,
when
you said it, I was like, wait a minute, hold on, that's a conference game, and I mean, it's taken me a long time to get readjusted or adjusted, however you want to look at it, to hearing that as a conference game.
Backhanded by Flores, long throw, handled by Schussler for the 2nd out. Yes, it'll take some getting used to. I think more so with the ACC and the Big Ten. I mean, say what you will about the SEC and its expansion, but at least geographically, the footprint doesn't take you anywhere too crazy.
Yeah, but it's still, I mean, you've heard the teams' names in those conferences for so long. I mean, it's, you know, everybody's got to push the reset button to make sure you know, not just from the geographical part of it, but just the changing conferences. But I think we're going to see a offensive timeout because Max Grubbs is doing what he does. I was about to say that as an infielder, when a guy like Max Grubbs goes into the game, Chris, you love it because you know you're going to get some action. You know that there's going to be some ground ball. Now he's been fairly selfish so far with the strikeouts, meaning, you know, some of his outs have come that way today, but you know when you see his name on the chart as a possible relief guy, and then he comes trotting out of bullpen, as an infielder, you get excited about it.
He has recorded 10 outs, and he's needed just 30 pitches to do so. He's been economical, efficient, and dominant in his 3 1/3 innings out of the bullpen in relief of Jason Flores. So finally, Brody Dene steps in there, and he blasts the first pitch well foul. Dene walked his first time, hit a fly ball to left field his last time in the 3rd. He began his college baseball journey in the ACC at Virginia Tech 2 years ago. Back in his home state, he's a native of Lakeland, Florida. Big time power. And he comes up empty on the 0-1 swing.
He spreads out on that box. His right back foot. Look how far he spreads out. A lot of tall guys will do this to keep their base underneath them. When you're that tall, trying to reach pitches out there like that, he drives it out to right field.
And hits it out of the yard. Brody Dene the opposite way on 0-2. His 40th career home run. And the Gators first in Austin this weekend. 3-0 Florida in the 6th. He got it up into the jet stream.
We talked about the wind, and it's open to right field from the scoreboard in right center. The ball was carrying, but we were talking about his stance, and that stance opening up like that, or widening out, I should say, allows him to reach those balls away from that tall frame. It looked like a slider running away from him. He stays on it long enough, gets it up into the jet stream, and drives it out of the park.
We talked about that big-time power for Brody Dene, his 14th homer of the season. That ties Bobby Bozer for the team lead. Yeah, the 40th of his college career. Not many have gone to the opposite field, but 0-2. He was just trying to put the ball in play. He went with the pitch towards the outside, and he certainly has the muscle to get it out to any and all fields. Hayden Yost rolls it over to second base. Rodriguez throws him out. And the top of the 6th has come to an end, but Florida adds on their first big fly of the weekend in the Lone Stars.
Run that slider in there as well. He has been really good for the Florida Gators today.
Only 1 earned run over his last 2 appearances. 2 2/3 innings before a rain delay at South Carolina last week. And 4 2/3 at home against Arkansas the weekend prior. Got tagged for 5 hits and 5 runs, but only 1 of them earned. In a game Arkansas blanked Florida 7-0. This is only the 4th time all year Aiden King has worked into the 6th inning. Jalen Flores fouls it away. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
The first 3 pitches are any indication of how he feels, or if he's tiring. He's not giving any indication. He's still going extension side, meaning the first base side of home plate with that fastball. And you can still do that. You're still in pretty good shape.
And he strikes out Jalen Flores, looking to open the bottom of the 6th. His 7th punch out of the afternoon.
7th punch out. That's his 4th one looking so far against the Longhorn hitters. A team that doesn't strike out a ton and certainly doesn't strike out much looking. I think that just describes the type of stuff right now that King has.
1 off his season high of 8 strikeouts against Harvard back in early March. Swinging a bouncing ball off the bat of Kimball Schuessler, and Nato throws him out. And 2 quick outs for Aiden King, who continues to mow down these Texas hitters.
You hear people talk all the time, baseball people talk all the time about throw the ball down at the knees, and the reason for it is you just start trapping barrels, meaning hitting it straight down into the ground. As you just saw again, there's been a lot of ground balls to the right side from the right-handed hitting Longhorns. And a lot of that's due to the execution of that 94-mile-an-hour fastball away.
Adrian Rodriguez, one of the 2 Texas hits on the afternoon. Singled his last time in the 4th. Heck, there haven't been many balls hit out of the infield against Aiden King. On 1-1 to Rodriguez. 1-2.
A little amped up at the beginning of the game, right? Remember the first 2 walks, threw 1 strike to the first 2 hitters. Man, he just settled in and he's been cruising.
Some pitchers you just have to get to early before they're able to get into a rhythm. And the further and further we get from that first inning, you think about what could have been for Texas.
Well, as he gets the pitch count up a little bit as this game progresses, we see it at 88. be headed into the 7th next time. They got to start thinking Clement as a possibility as well.
Nato takes care of his opposite number, and Aiden King has another top-ranked Texas. 7 straight retired by the freshman. He's on cruise control through 6. So shout out to all the moms out there, hopefully celebrating and getting pampered today and all year long. What do you say, Coach?
Oh, I guarantee you they've done a lot for the
Max Grubb still pitching for Texas, the lone blemish on his line. A home run allowed to Brody Dene on a 0-2 pitch, the opposite field last inning. It'll be a base hit for Ashton Wilson. Flores with a nice effort to knock it down, but no chance to throw him out at first base. So Wilson, who brought home a run on a ground ball back in the 2nd, on base for the first time today as he starts the 7th with Florida's 5th hit.
A ground ball in between shortstop, third base. Wouldn't be able to make a play on that. Hit hard enough that Flores couldn't get to it. Now you're in a situation in the 9-hole with the leadoff hitter on. Do you go to a bunt game or a hit and run, something to move the runner into scoring position? They're swinging away on the first pitch.
Florida did drop down a sac bunt. Hayden Yost sacrificed over base runners in the 2nd inning. This is Justin Nato out of the 9 spot. See Borba playing in.
That pick to first is 2 things. One, to see if the hitter thinks about moving his hands up on the barrel to show bunt, and or is there any type of flinch from the runner at first to indicate that they may be trying to play hit and run.
Ashton Wilson has 12 stolen bases on the season, only been caught once. 3rd on the club in that category. Called strike, throw down to 2nd, and plenty of time to get Ashton Wilson. He didn't get a great jump there, and Galvan catches him trying to steal. Although Florida may ask
Florida
for
is
a
challenging
review.
the ruling of out at second base.
Well, that's a very quick challenge from Kevin O'Sullivan.
I think they thought that he missed his hand on the tag, but you're right. I thought it was a late jump, almost like a delay from the runner. And they've done it through.
I think, as often is the case, that's the big key here. Do you have an angle where it's 100% conclusive that the hand was in there before the tag was applied? And I just don't know if that exists in this scenario.
Well, it may not, but you said it. He goes, from the get-go, Florida immediately said, let's review this. So they showed that the confidence that they felt like that it missed the tag. The call on the field is out. It gets him right then, and the hand is
kind of tough to tell where the hand
Yeah,
is.
it is.
Remember, the jersey's part of the body, so any piece of that glove that hits anything Ashton Wilson's wearing would be enough for the out.
I think they're getting the same reaction too. It was a tough call as far as timing of how long
After
it
review,
took.
the runner on the field, the calling on the field of out is confirmed.
They still have one remaining. Nato on 0-2. Rodriguez is sliding stop, and he throws him out.
These college infielders nowadays make these plays look so easy, and it's not.
Back to the top of the order, Bobby Bozer will bat for a 4th time today. First ball swinging. Bozer hit by a pitch his first 2 times. Flew out to right field in the 5th inning.
It's the only time this game that he hasn't let off an inning.
little scorebook fun for you. One ball, one strike. And Texas comes to bat. In the bottom of the 7th, it's Borbo, Winfield, and Jonah Williams. Winfield entered the game after Will Gasparino was pulled. Still haven't been given a reason for that. One ball, two strikes. Max Grubbs has 4 strikeouts in his 4 1/3 innings. Out of the Texas bullpen today. One-two pitch on the way to Bobby Bozer. 2-2.
Max Grubbs was originally trained as a starter. And, you know, in his career here, obviously in high school, but here as well, he's been a starter, so he can get some distance. This ball's driven out to deep center field. Williams gets turned around a little bit.
Has to play it off the fence. It's a 2-out double off the bat of Bobby Bozer. Just the 2nd extra base hit of the game for the Florida Gators.
Well, that ball was struck really well.
There's the 11th double of the season. Will bring up Brendan Lawson, who's hitless in 3 at-bats. Lawson has struck out twice today, once against Max Grubbs back in the 5th inning. Haven't been many opportunities for Florida with men in scoring position in this game. 1 for 5 as a team. Texas has only had 4 at-bats with men in scoring position. They're 0 for 4. Big story of this game has been the Florida freshman right-hander Aiden King, who's blanked the #1 team in the country and held them to just 2 singles through his first 6 innings. And Texas, they're pitching trying to keep them in the game. It's tapped foul off the bat of Brendan Lawson, the true freshman from Toronto. Big-time prospect coming out of high school. Was drafted in the 19th round by the St. Louis Cardinals last summer, but turned that down to come to Florida, which isn't surprising. Major League Baseball draft used to be, what, 50 rounds? More than that? Now it's only 20 rounds, so if you're taken in the 19th round, well, there are better alternatives oftentimes for high school kids. Slow bouncer, Grubbs fields it, and well, couldn't find the handle as he went to try to tag Lawson, who reaches here with 2 outs.
Well, he goes over to field the pitching coach out, Max Weiner, to visit with Max Grubbs and also to talk to the defense about a 1st and 3rd double steal that they, you know, they ran one back in the 1st inning. So that's part of their offense, just talking about what type of defense they're going to run.
Nobody throwing in the home bullpen. Ethan Walker starting to do some light stretching down there for Texas.
Well, realistically, I mean, the ball center field may have could have been caught in center field.
Sure.
Now the ground ball to the right side, so he's made the pitches that he needs to make, and this is a kind of a, hey, catch your breath, but then also an information piece about making sure that you're in the right defense, 1st, 3rd, and how you're going to, attack the hitter as well.
Luke Heyman's been one of the best hitters in the SEC since the beginning of conference play. He's 1 for 3 in this game, singled back in the 3rd. Hitting .288 with runners in scoring position. 3 infielders to the left of second. As the off-speed pitch misses low and inside. Home crowd thought it should have been a strike. With a 2-out double followed by the error has given Florida some 2-out life here in the top of the 7th, trying to add on in the rubber match of this series. Heyman lifts it in the air to right field. Long run for Tommy Farmer into foul territory and out of play. It's the direction the wind is pushing from left to right field here. No chance for Tommy Farmer to jump into the stands and catch it. 1 ball, 1 strike on the Florida catcher, Luke Heyman. "55 pitches thrown by Max Grubbs, who threw 65 in his lone outing at Arkansas last weekend. Check swing, foul ball. Grubbs is in front. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
There's a little cat and mouse game now going to be played by Florida offensively, meaning they ran that first third in the first inning. Did they try to run some other type of double steal? Or do they just put it in Heyman's hands and see if he can earn a base hit? Max Grubbs with a pickoff move, trying to see if there was any indication of anything different about a lead from the runner at first base.
Another foul ball off the bat of Heyman.
Runner was going at first base on the pitch.
Brendan Lawson does have 7 stolen bases on the season.
Riley Galvan going to step out in front of home plate, put on another defense. Originally, when pitching coach went to the mound, they put on a defense. Now Galvan possibly changing the first third defense they originally had on at the beginning of the at-bat.
1-2 pitch. Another foul ball.
Lawson off on the pitch again.
Florida struck for a run in the second, another in the third. Brody Dene a solo home run in the 6th. Grubbs trying to keep it at 3-0 and see if the offense can get hot late. Another 1-2 on the way to Luke Heyman. Lawson takes off. It's a bouncing ball through the middle, base hit center field. Lawson will go first to third as Bozer scores. A big insurance run for the Gators as Luke Heyman picks up his 2nd hit of the day. And with 2 strikes and 2 outs in the inning, Florida has struck for another run against Max Grubbs.
Texas was in a pull side shift, and Rodriguez unable to go back towards the middle to field it.
Ty Evans out of the cleanup spot fouls away the first pitch. Evans singled way back in the first inning, has since struck out and grounded out. Listen, now Texas chasing at least 4 runs into the late innings here on an afternoon where they have been baffled by Aiden King. Just 2 singles for the Longhorns in their regular season home finale so far. As that hits Ty Evans. Well, the 2-out troubles for Max Grubbs continue. And the base is now loaded for Florida. Blake Sear coming up.
And that's going to get the bullpen moving, I got to think. Florida pulling out all the stops on that pitch. Heyman was off on the pitch as well. Offensively, meaning pulling out all the stops, trying to score at every opportunity they can. Trying to take advantage of a first and third offensive opportunity, but as it ended up, Ty Emmons got hit by the pitch.
Well, here's Blake Sear, who's been on twice, a walk and an RBI infield base hit. As Grubbs gets across a fastball for strike 1.
For Texas, you go back to 2 outs and nobody on. You're 1 pitch away so many times from getting out of this inning without any damage. But unable so far to close out the inning.
Had Bobby Bozer at 0-2 with 2 outs and the bases empty. He doubled to straightaway center field. And Grubbs mishandled a slow ground ball off the bat of Lawson before Heyman knocked in the Gators' 4th run, and then Evans was hit by a pitch. 0-2 to Blake Sear, and it's bounced foul again.
Like a cruising inning. It's now been a long, exhausting, and taxing inning on Max Grubbs.
Next pitch will be his 65th, matching his total from his lone outing at Baum Walker last weekend. His season high is 70 pitches. Did that in a victory here against LSU back in late March. Was a starter last season. 18 appearances, 12 of them as a starter. Right back to Grubbs. No problems with this one. And Florida leaves him loaded, but the Gators tack on a big insurance run. Luke Heyman, a 2-out run-scoring single.
Weekend. So he was well rested coming into today's game. He's been efficient enough with the number of strikeouts that he's had. But his execution and stuff has been through the roof so far today for the Florida Gators.
Faces Casey Borba to open the home half of the 7th. Lowest ERA among SEC freshman starters. 6th best among freshmen everywhere. Drops in a strike to Casey Borba. 0-2. Borba has struck out and hit a fly ball to center field. Doesn't chase the high fastball.
His purpose pitches today, what I mean by that, the pitches where he's trying to drive it into the strike zone, his misses have been small since the first 2 hitters. Now, on a 2-strike, he'll expand it like he did right there with that 4-seamer going up out of the zone, but his misses have been little today.
Two of the 3 walks were to the first 2 hitters of the game.
Well, the key to that is if your misses are small, you're around the strike zone. If your misses are big, then you go to the white part of the plate, the middle part of the plate, just to ensure you're throwing a strike. But when you're executing on the corners and you've got that kind of confidence, it makes it hard on these hitters. Like that. I mean, that's a slider off the edge of the plate, not by much.
Two to Borba, and it missed off the inside. Full count. Easton Winfield is scheduled next.
King was questioning where those last 2 sliders were. Indicating the home plate umpire asked him if he thought they were in or out.
Well, the 96 pitches, this is a season high from Aiden King. Previous high for pitches in the game, 93 against Tennessee in mid-March.
Well, Florida's got Jake Clement, who hasn't thrown yet in this series, who they've moved to the back end, who's been really good for them in the closer role.
There is Clement, sophomore right-hander. Florida working with a 4-0 cushion after adding an insurance run in the top of the inning. Another full count delivery to Casey Borba, and he rockets it foul. King making a concerted effort with a full count to try and get that inside part of the plate, and Borba keeps fighting off the pitch's foul.
Yeah, he does. I mean, this is a really good battle between the two of them right now in this full count. Borba fouling the ball off. All along, too, now with that for King as his pitch count continues to go up with each foul ball. And you're right on, partner. They're staying in on that third base side of home plate so far, trying to drill that fastball underneath him.
A long battle to open the bottom of the 7th between Aiden King and Casey Borba, trying to spark something for a quiet Texas offense today.
I'm anxious to see if with all those fastballs in, does he go to the slider? He goes fastball right down the middle.
And he has matched his season high with 8 punts against Harvard. A little different doing it on the road against #1 in the SEC. Easton Winfield, his first plate appearance of the series. Transfer from Louisiana Monroe, taking over for Will Gasparino, who left the game after the 4th inning. Winfield in a 0-2 hole. Freshman All-American last year in the Sun Belt with the Warhawks. .322, 21 extra base hits in his freshman season.
It's a good-looking young hitter. I had a chance to watch him play a couple times last year in the Sun Belt. He had a fabulous year from Monroe's. He takes a slider off the plate. He's had some time in left field. He's been in and out of the lineup a couple times. When Max Ballou went down, Texas was trying to find that combination in the outfield to replace Ballou. And that's hard to do. Now, you're talking about the Big 12 player of a year ago in Max Ballou.
Winfield goes down swinging. New career high for Aiden King as he registers his 9th strikeout of the afternoon. Fired by King since allowing the infield base hit to Gasparino back in the 4th. Talk about Max Ballou. He was able to stand in the batter's box earlier this week and see some live pitching as he tries to work his way back in time for the postseason. Still no timetable on when Texas will try to bring him back, but certainly encouraging. There were some reports out there when he first got injured that we might not see him again this season, but that thumb that he injured against Missouri in late March starting to feel better as King gets one over to Williams. And obviously that could completely change what this team looks like from an offensive standpoint.
I don't think there's any doubt. I mean, again, we just talked about it. It's Big 12 Player of the Year. As this ball's scorched back up the middle to the shortstop. Bozer, who picks it up, throws Williams out at first pitch.
Plantier, we saw his younger brother Jaden appear and take over for Jonah Williams yesterday following the 2 Sports Stars bases clearing double. Gets a strike over the inside to Brody Dene, who poked out an opposite field home run for the 40th of his college career, his last time in the 6th. That was against Max Grubbs, who pitched 4 2/3 innings in relief of the starter Jason Flores. For Duplantier, this is his 89th career game. You mentioned it, been with the program since 2020. Did not appear in 2021. Line drive to center field, but right near Williams. I was going to say right at Williams, but he almost couldn't glove that baseball. It sunk on him, but he recovers and makes the play for the first out of the 8th.
I think his ball had some line drive spin to it, and it right into the teeth of that wind. Williams does what you got to do, and that's catch it to get the out. That ball was struck pretty good to center field.
Now it's Hayden Yost. Officially 0 for 2 in the game. Successful sacrifice bunt back in the second. Reigning SEC Player of the Week. 5 hits, 2 homers, 8 RBIs against South Carolina Gamecock pitching last weekend. Also robbed a home run in that series against South Carolina.
Texas went to a pull side shift. They moved 3 defenders over to the right side, moving Borba over to second base. Yost, with only 1 strike on him, decides he was going to possibly put down a drag bunt down the third baseline. Now, Duplantier is a really good athlete. Was we get a chance. He was going to try to do it possibly again. But Duplantier was also a position player pitcher when he got here, so he can cover his spot.
Yost pops it up near the foul line and now in foul territory. And a catch made by Rodriguez. 2 outs.
Got a high sky today, and that wind is making it tough on some of these defenders catching these fly balls. Rodriguez does a good job of setting up underneath it and making the catch.
Ashton Wilson bats with 2 outs in the 8th for the Gators. Wilson brought home the first run of the day, an RBI ground out in the second inning. Singled before he was caught stealing his last time in the 7th.
Neither team has had a ton of opportunities RBI-wise, but the ones that they've had, Florida, that is, they've been able to roll some balls through the infield to score some runs, and then obviously the big home run by Dene.
And that hits Ashton Wilson. 4th different Gator that's been plunked by a pitch today. We'll give him a 2-out base runner in the 8th.
If you're going to get hit by a pitch, there's a handful of spots you prefer to get hit. This is probably one of them on the backside. And then if you want a pitch to get hit with, it's also a breaker, a slow breaker, if you have a choice.
5th time this season Ashton Wilson's been hit by a pitch, and it brings up Justin Nato out of the 9 spot. Nato takes it the other way, chasing Winfield towards the corner, into a slide. He can't get it. Winfield just finding the baseball. Wilson waved home, the relay to the plate in time.
This is a tremendous defensive play by Jalen. Punch outs at 44 total, but the other piece of it for me, 29 hits in 44 innings and a 1.80 batting average against him. As you get a look at that ERA in the last 7 games at a 0.57.
And clearly more comfortable pitching out of the bullpen compared to a starting role. Tommy Farmer opens up the bottom of the 8th for Texas. Clement appeared in 19 games, 17 out of the bullpen last year as a redshirt freshman, was 2-0 with an earned run average north of 5. Opponents hitting just a $180 against him this season. Worked 5 scoreless innings at South Carolina last weekend. First appearance of the week. Should be well rested as Tommy Farmer is jammed, sends a floater to second, gloved by Nato for the first out.
I was about to describe the type of fastball he had after we got going and he went to the mound. But the second fastball you saw of his outing was 98 miles an hour, and that probably speaks enough about it.
Back to the top of the order one more time for Texas. It's Ethan Mendoza. Walked his first time, pair of ground outs since. 97 miles per hour from Clement.
As you first look at his slider at 87 miles an hour, with great late action to it as well. Moving him to the back end, it has been huge for them. Obviously late in games with the 6 saves. But what that comfort level looks like for him when you read through his stats, that 0.5 ERA over the last 7 outings on the back end.
That'll tell you a good chunk of how good this bullpen is towards the back end. Full count on Ethan Mendoza. Rylan Galvan on deck. In the air down the right field line and drifting back into the seats.
Crazy and interesting and exciting and fun and all those different words to describe what college baseball has become. Is we've seen it today and all weekend long between these two teams on the mound, the power arms that this conference possess. And in college baseball, and we're sitting here watching 94 to 98 over the last 3 days.
Full count pitch. Mendoza rips a base hit into left field. Big turnaround first base. Sear did a nice job to get to the baseball quickly. That's just the 3rd hit of the day for Texas. And we'll see if that can spark a rally with 1 out in the 8th.
Mendoza gets an elevated fastball, pulls it down the left field line. Now he knows, Chris, when he's coming around first base, if this would have been 2 outs in a close game or tight game or up, he would have probably challenged it going to second base. But knowing that they're chasing 4, can't afford to get any outs on the bases, so he holds up at first base with a single.
Ball 1 to Rylan Galvan, who's been on twice with a pair of walks. Fastball in tight. Elsewhere in the SEC, this is the final Sunday of action in the conference with Thursday through Saturday series next week. Kentucky 7-2 winner earlier today over Oklahoma. Alabama scored a couple of wins against Georgia after dropping the series opener. Continuation of the suspended game from yesterday and a 5-4 win in the series finale. In College Station, it's just getting worse. 10-1 Mizzou in the bottom of the 7th. Tigers about to sweep the Aggies. Bubble team to begin with. And now they probably need to do something spectacular at Georgia next weekend and then piece together some type of run in the SEC tournament. They're probably on the outside looking in now.
That very well may be. I never would have guessed that at the beginning on Friday before all the series got started.
Very close miss on 2-2 to Galvan to fill the count. Yeah, remember how Missouri won that game Friday. They scored 6 runs in the 9th inning to come on back to win it. And their pitching has stymied the A&M bats. Final 2 games of that series in College Station. Full count pitch. Strike 3 called on the outside edge. 98 mile per hour heater. Galvine not agreeing with Jeff Head's strike 3 call, but he's the second out in the home half of the 8th. Luke Heyman did a nice job to frame it. Jalen Flores bats with 2 outs, takes off the outside. Vandy and Tennessee tied at 2. Their game in the bottom of the 4th inning. A rubber match there in Knoxville. And Arkansas LSU underway from the box. LSU trying to sweep the Hogs. 2 balls, no strikes on Jalen Flores, who's gone hitless in 3 at-bats today. In tight for ball 3, Kimball Schuessler. Out of the cleanup spot would be next for Texas. Longhorns have only had 2 innings through the first 7 with multiple base runners.
Taken all the way on this pitch. I wouldn't be completely shocked if he takes the 3-1 pitches as well at this point when you're chasing base runners any way you can.
On 3-1 to Flores. Full count. And Mendoza will be off with the payoff pitch with 2 outs in the inning.
Now, Dene's going to get behind Mendoza at first base to try to cover some ground because the runner, Mendoza's going to be off on the pitch. Texans looking any way to be able to pass the bat at this point to get to the next hitter. You're down to 4 outs now here in the bottom of the 8th.
Another full count delivery. And a close miss. Ball 4. Flores coaxes a 2-out walk. And the Longhorns have a couple line with 2 outs for their cleanup hitter, Kimball Schuessler. Kevin O'Sullivan. Nobody's warming up in the bullpen. Gator head coach out to chat with Jake Clement, who's allowed a couple of base runners after Aiden King had set down the final 10 batters he faced.
This is more about being aggressive to the strike zone. A little bit of a pep talk, a little bit of, hey, you know, here we go. And if you're Texas, you know, one of your more clutch guys outside of Flores himself who just gained a walk, Kimball Schuessler, would love nothing more on senior day to come up with a big hit for his team right now. But you get a good look at the last 26 games with a .330 batting average and those 6 home runs. He finds himself in a huge moment. The Longhorns are going to try to get back into this game.
Schuessler hitless in 3 at-bats, has struck out twice. Grew up a diehard Texas fan and wears that number 10 after his favorite Texas football player of all time, Vince Young. And he's taken the first 2 off the plate.
Interested to see, are they going to green light him in a 2-0 count? Wind's blowing in from left field, right? So it's going to be hard to drive one out. Or is he going to take, trying to create another base runner?
Schuessler takes ball 3. Well, the pressure is starting to mount here for Jake Clement. Adrian Rodriguez on deck.
Got to try to stay a couple pitches ahead on the coaching side of this. Without any doubt, he's taken right here. But now in a 3-1 count, which is a great hitter's count, right? I mean, if you're going to get after a guy like Clement, you'd love to have an opportunity in a 3-1 count. But another walk all of a sudden brings a tying run to the plate.
It is another walk. Back-to-back base on balls. Texas has loaded the bases, and they will bring the possible tying run to the batter's box in the form of Adrian Rodriguez, the freshman. Rodriguez does have some power. 7 home runs on the season.
He does have some power. He's got double and home run type power. You can hear the crowd in the background here at Disch-Falk Field starting to come to their feet a little bit, trying to encourage the freshman Rodriguez. And what now has become a huge moment here in the bottom of the 8th with 2 outs.
First one bounces up there. Adrian Rodriguez, in a tight game late against Texas A&M, had a go-ahead solo home run in the 8th inning of that game. He's 0 for 8 this season with the bases loaded. Two and 0. Now some bodies starting to scramble.
In that same scenario again, in a 3-1 count, in a hitter's count with a guy who can't change the score with one swing.
Well, they'll come to their feet at UFCU Disch-Falk Field. 3-1 on the way to Rodriguez, and it's ball 4. 3 straight 2-out walks. Strike 97 on the inside edge. Borba hitless in 3 at-bats today with a couple of strikeouts. Base hit here completely changes the feel of this game. Borba hammers it, but well foul down the left field side. A hanging breaking ball, and he was early on the swing. It's 0-2. Oh, he would love to have that pitch back.
Yeah, he got out in front of it just a little bit. It was a front door breaker.
From there. Hip into the glove of Luke Heyman to avoid further trouble for Florida in the bottom of the 8th. So the base is low.
Have conversations and thoughts about possibly hosting a regional.
Thomas Burns, who was the winning pitcher for Texas yesterday, on to pitch the top of the 9th today. Sophomore from Hortonville, Wisconsin, a transfer from Arizona State. Through 23 pitches, worked an inning and 2/3. No hits, a walk and 3 strikeouts yesterday.
I think for Texas, when Spencer went down, this was one of the guys out in the bullpen that has some starter history. A year ago as a freshman at Arizona State. He's been in the bullpen for the most part here. One of the guys who needed to step in and throw more when Spencer went down, because the stuff is, I mean, it speaks for itself. I mean, we saw it yesterday up to 98 with a good downhill fastball, breaker on top of it. 2 different types of breaker, but he's got that kind of stuff that when it lines up and his command is good, he can be dynamite.
2-1 to Bobby Bozer. Top third of Florida's batting order scheduled for the top of the 9th. Bozer's been on 3 times. Florida returns home. Alabama comes to town fresh off their series victory over Georgia. Should be a competitive series down in the swamp. Full count.
These college hitters will prove to you that if you don't make good pitches and you elevate, regardless of what your velo, and if you don't have a secondary pitch to go with it, these hitters train for hitting 94 to 96 miles an hour. They can get that barrel there. These pitchers, even with that kind of velo, make mistakes.
Thomas Burns on a full count delivery, and Bowser fouls it away.
Did you already say this was the 4th time he's led off?
I didn't. No. Good catch.
It doesn't happen very often. Well, you get a 1-up, right? You start the game, so you got a head start.
But then to do it 3 more times? You're such a baseball savant, Coach.
Yeah.
Strike 3 called.
Get a good look at that fastball with good angle. Gets over the top of it.
Now it's Brendan Lawson. 0 for 4 in the game. Reached on an error back in the 7th, which led to a big insurance run for Florida.
Burns hasn't shown you anything so far, even though he's only faced one hitter, that there's been any difference in his stuff from yesterday till today.
Last chance for Texas in the home half of the 9th. It'll be 7, 8, 9. Winfield, Williams, and Farmer scheduled. We'll see if Schloss decides to make any changes. Texas opened the SEC slate 19-2, but in danger of dropping 5 of 6 if they can't come on back in the bottom half of this inning.
See what Burns gets after him. He went with a fastball to pitch before on 0-2.
Lawson drives this one the opposite way. Winfield in the corner runs out of room. A few rows back in the seats.
Acted like a changeup coming out of his hand. It got elevated. You were talking about that 19-2 start. I mean, I get to watch him play often, right? I mean, and the job that Jim Schlossnagle and his staff have done to get it to 19-2 when you lose your best player, offensive player, Max Blue, arguably your best player, and then, then all of a sudden you lose your Friday night starter, and for them to be in position to still have an opportunity to win the SEC regular season championship, to me, is impressive.
It's lifted out towards left center. Not as long of a run this time for Easton Winfield to put it away for the second out.
You can see Winfield stepping through that last little bit of that fly ball because of the wind. You want your defenders not to get set up flat-footed, particularly with the way this wind's blowing, and you get a ball out to left field, it starts to drift and come back towards the infield. He did a good job of staying with it and making the catch.
So 2 gone for Luke Heyman, who's 2 for 4. RBI single back in the 7th. Breaking ball drops in for a called strike. Florida does have some action in the visiting bullpen. Jake Clement threw 36 pitches in that bottom of the 8th inning. If Florida does go to a different arm and the score remains 4-1, it would be a save situation in the bottom of the 9th. With Winfield, Williams, and Farmer coming up.
Back to what we were talking about just earlier after the first hitter, Burns showed you his physicality. Pitched yesterday in a big moment. There's a lot of energy. He's right back out there today, and the stuff looks the same, maybe even a little bit better.
Burns strikes out Heyman. He bookends a 1-2-3 9th with a pair of strikeouts. Last chance for Texas. Changes to the scheduled hitters in this bottom of the 9th, and Jaquay Stewart has grabbed the bat, and he's going to pinch hit for Easton Winfield. Stewart, 7 hits and 44 at bats this season, a junior college transfer from Northwest Florida State. in Niceville in the Panhandle. 2 balls, no strikes.
If you're Texas, any way you can to find a base runner, walks, hit batsman, base hits, any way you can. As you see an automatic 2-0 take right there. I would assume they may be taking a strike here, trying to create some tension and making the pitcher, Clement, throw strikes.
Back-to-back fastballs after falling behind 2-0, and he has leveled the count. Just threw his 40th pitch after a laborious bottom of the 8th inning that saw him throw 36. Stewart gets the bat on it, still 2-2. 1 home run on the season for Jaquay Stewart. Came early last month in the series here against the Georgia Bulldogs. Another 2-2 on the way, and Stewart fouls it back.
So far this at bat from Clement, it's been nothing but here it comes, fastballs. From the first pitch till that last pitch, it's been 95 to 97. See if he changes it and tries to go to something secondary, but so far it's been nothing but fastballs.
Another close miss on 2-2. Stewart has worked a full count. Jonah Williams on deck. There's the full count delivery, and it's on the inside corner, strike 3 called.
He dials up another fastball, stays. They're not even messing around with a breaker or anything secondary right now. It's just old country hardball right now, rearing back and throwing his fastball.
A lot of 3-ball counts. Full count on Jonah Williams.
You're right, we've been through a handful of 3-ball counts so far. You can almost see a little bit of the frustration out of Coach O'Sullivan in the dugout. Just saying they're taking, throw it right in there.
Williams rolls a base hit to right field. Just the 4th hit today for Texas, and a 1-out base runner in the bottom of the 9th. Tommy Farmer's coming up. Senior day for the Texas Longhorns baseball team, being the final regular season home game. We also want to thank seniors that are working on our Texas Studios crew telecast today. Josh and Alyssa handling cameras. There's Alyssa. And Alyssa's going to try to get us a shot of Josh, I think. There's Josh. And we've got Cole, technical director, back in the control room. So shout out to all the students involved, but especially the seniors. Big commencement weekend here. And Tommy Farmer's the hitter. And he takes ball 2.
But to Jonah Williams' swing, he got into a 3-2 count. He hits a lot of balls back up the middle and the other way, but a fastball in. He pulled it into the 4-hole for a base hit. Now Kevin O'Sullivan going to come out and visit with his pitcher, Jake Clement. And Jonah Williams now, he's been bothered with a leg issue. But his run is important, but it's not the last. Your run is on deck, which is the tying run.
Well, you just love to get this thing to the big bats, Galvan, Flores, and Schussler if you're Texas. Barlow and McNeely continuing to warm up in the visiting bullpen as the pitch count continues to climb for Clement, who is not used in Florida's previous 3 games this week. Twice pitched at South Carolina last weekend and combined to throw 81 pitches across his 2 appearances. So this is not uncommon for him to throw this many pitches in a weekend series. But the command has certainly been a red flag for Kevin O'Sullivan in Florida. 2-0 to Tommy Farmer. Fastball, little get me over 97 piece.
It's been predominantly fastballs since he's come in the game, and certainly this half of the 9th.
In tight.
I think the possibility of taking right here exists just because of the command issues that Clement has had so far.
And he missed again. Texas will bring up the possible tying run for a 2nd straight inning against Jake Clement. And Ethan Mendoza, who singled off Clement to open the 8th, will face him again.
Bottom of the order does their job for Texas. 8-hole here, Jonah Williams gets a big base hit. Tommy Farmer draws a walk. Now you've swung it to the top of your order with Ethan Mendoza.
Well, Mendoza does have 5 home runs on the season. Although, as we've mentioned throughout the telecast, it's not easy to get a ball out to left field with the wind pattern blowing the way it is. Mendoza, big swing and a miss at the first pitch fastball.
Well, he went up there hunting a fastball to try to drive it into a gap or get a base hit. Took a big swing at it. Wasn't able to catch up to it.
Check still out now. But Rylan Galvan, the team leader in home runs, representing the possible tying run, will have a chance in this bottom of the 9th inning.
Rylan Galvan, a good portion of his home runs, Chris, are to center field to right field. He'll go opposite field. He can hit a backside homer. But this is going to be a tremendous matchup between Clement and Rylan Galvan.
Breaking ball for a strike. Galvan hit a walk-off home run here early last month out to right center field on a Sunday afternoon to secure a sweep against the Georgia Bulldogs.
Clement's got a little bit more confidence in his slider than he did early in the count. I mean, early in the inning, where they were just trying to throw those fastballs across the plate and not walk anybody. Now he's introduced that slider here in the bottom of the 9th.
Texas down to its final strike.
That's his 3rd slider in a row.
Probably forces Galvan to shorten up for now. Just try to get this thing to Jalen Flores in the on-deck circle. On 1-2, Clement pitches. And a fastball misses high and away. Well, the 2 strikes he's gotten over in this plate appearance, a couple of breaking balls.
Yep.
Does he go back to it here at 2-2?
Yeah, I'm curious to see. One would think that he may, since he's shown it enough.
Bouncing ball to 3rd. Lawson steps on the bag, and this game is over. The Florida Gators come to Austin for the first